Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the course of Development Planning and Administration, MPA 403, lecture number 32, and I'm your facilitator, Professor Dr. Muhammad Majid Mahmood Bagram. So let's have a review of entire course of Development Planning and Administration. Since today is the final lecture of Development Planning and Administration, so we are going to have a brief review of all the lectures and the most important parts of those lectures in our today's presentation. So let's discuss the significance of this course, Development Planning and Administration. So in recent decades, the world has witnessed a much faster pace of economic growth, social advancement, and expansion in international trade than at any previous time in history. So that shows the rapid changes in today's world. The efforts of governments, private investors, and rural and urban communities have been significant in sustaining this development drive. So continuing our discussion on the significance of development planning and administration, yet gaps remain between rich and poor nations, as well as between regions and people within the same country. Now this is really a very sad fact, that there is a gap between rich and poor nations, and with the passage of time, this is increasing. In many cases, disparities between rich and poor are growing. So while some countries and individuals race ahead in an increasingly globalized world, some lag behind. So now you see the importance of development planning and administration. So we are having a view of the entire world. So we are having a broader picture of the world. So on one side we have the rich countries, on the other side we have the poor countries. And in most of the cases, this gap is increasing. The rich countries are becoming more richer and the poor countries are becoming more poorer. So here comes the significance of planning and administration. So we need to do something. We need to take corrective measures. So before taking any corrective measures, first of all, the most important thing is we need to explore the root causes of the problem, because all of these are the symptoms. Gap increasing between rich and poor countries. So these are the symptoms, but what are the root causes? So what is behind the increase of this gap between rich and poor countries? So with the help of development planning and administration, we try to minimize this gap. Now talking about solutions to poverty, development of new and upgrading of existing industrial estates, very important. So न सिर्फ ये कि आप न्यू इंडस्ट्रियल स्टेट्स को डेवलप करें, उसके साथ साथ जो एग्जिस्टिंग इंडस्ट्रियल स्टेट्स हैं उनको आप मेंटेन करें, उनको आप अपग्रेड करें. Creating productive opportunities. Of course, you need to create opportunities for poor people, because unless and until you create employment opportunities for people, they cannot move forward. Empowering the poor. You need to empower the poor. You need to bring, those poor people, you need to raise their lifestyle. You need to improve their economic conditions. You need to provide them basic facilities. Improving public sector governance. Very important. When we talk about governance, particularly जब हम public sector की बात करते हैं, there are so many examples of bad governance or poor governance. So we need to improve our governance, because जब तक आप good governance नहीं करेंगे, उस वक्त तक we cannot make decisions which are required for the elimination of poverty. Reaching the ultra poor, most important, कि जो लोग ultra poor हैं उन तक पहुंचना, उनकी help करना. Revise constitution to give provinces control our resources. Very important. So जब हम developing countries की बात करते हैं, तो they need to focus on that area. Revise NFC award, National Finance Commission award. It is the distribution of financial resources among the provinces of Pakistan by the federal government on annual basis. So we need to revise NFC award as per backwardness, revenue collection, fiscal and administrative decentralization is highly recommended. And there is a more need of focused education and technical training and development programs. Now let's talk about the functions of human resource development. These are the three functions: training and development, organizational development, and career management. So in order to strengthen our plans, and in order to improve our administration functions, it is really important that we need to focus on human resource development. Now, how do we differentiate training and development of human resources? Training means learning existing job skill requirement. And development is learning future job skill requirement. Like for example, अगर एक एम्प्लॉय को कंप्यूटर चलाना नहीं आता, अगर वो कंप्यूटर लिटरेट नहीं है, आप उसको कंप्यूटर सिखा देते हैं, तो वो कंप्यूटर लिटरेट बन जाता है. तो वो जो उसकी एग्जिस्टिंग जॉब असाइनमेंट्स हैं, उनको बेहतर परफॉर्म करने के लिए वो कंप्यूटर यूज करता है. दैट इज कि आपने उसकी एग्जिस्टिंग जॉब स्किल रिक्वायरमेंट के मुताबिक आपने उसको स्किल सिखाई. ना जब हम डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, तो एक कोई नया इक्विपमेंट आप लेके आ रहे हैं अपने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, कोई नया वर्किंग मेथड आप इंट्रोड्यूस कराने जा रहे हैं, कोई नया कंप्यूटर सॉफ्टवेयर आप इंस्टॉल करने जा रहे हैं. सो बिफोर यू डू दैट, या जो 5 साल के बाद आपने एक्टिविटी करनी है, सो उससे पहले आप अपने एम्प्लॉयज को न्यू इक्विपमेंट सिखा रहे हैं, न्यू सॉफ्टवेयर सिखा रहे हैं, न्यू वर्किंग मेथड्स के बारे में उनको अवेयरनेस दे रहे हैं. तो फ्यूचर जॉब स्किल रिक्वायरमेंट जब आप अपने एम्प्लॉयज को देते हैं, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड डेवलपमेंट. तो किसी भी इदारे की परफॉर्मेंस के लिए ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्स इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी. ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल डेवलपमेंट. नाउ जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेवलपमेंट की हम बात करते हैं, इट मीन्स के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में A to Z जितने फंक्शंस हैं, जितनी एक्टिविटीज हैं, उन सब पे आप फोकस करते हैं. You talk about bringing positive changes in the attitude and behavior of your employees. You talk about their working. You talk about their activities. You talk about their strengths. You talk about their weaknesses. So you talk about planning. You talk about planning, organizing, leading, controlling. All of these are covered in organization development. So in our discussion on organization development, if you remember, we talked about OD model, Organization Development Process Model. So first of all, the step number 1 in OD process model is top management support. So we need the support of top management if they are really willing to bring positive changes in the organization. So the first step when we talk about organization development process model is that support from the top management. Step number 2 is identification of broad problem area. कि जो आपका broad problem area कौन सा है, आप उसकी बात करते हैं कि like for example decline of profits. Now decline of profits is the broad problem area, for instance. Now the next step is you collect data. Step number 3, you collect primary and secondary data. Now how do you differentiate primary and secondary data? Secondary data means the data which is already available in the shape of annual reports of your organization. You can collect secondary data from books, newspaper, internet, newspapers, magazines. And talking about primary data, so you collect the primary data for the very first time. And the sources of primary data are questionnaires, interviews, observations, experiments, simulation exercises. So what you do is you collect the primary and secondary data, and the next step is in OD process model you analyze the data and you bring out certain findings. And then you know that what are the specific problem areas. So you identify the specific problem and the root causes of that specific problem with the help of the data analysis of your primary and secondary data. And then on the basis of root causes identification, you develop different alternatives, the change strategies. And then in the next step, you implement those change strategies. And the final step is you evaluate. You evaluate that whether you have achieved the desired targets, yes or no. So if you are able to achieve your desired targets, it means that your OD process model really worked. And if you are not able to achieve your targets or the desired outcomes, meaning that you did some mistake in any of the steps taken in the OD process model. And then we also talked about during this course career management. Now एक पर्सन जब ज्वाइन करता है किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, तो स्टेप बाय स्टेप वो आगे की तरफ बढ़ता है. सो इट्स अ सीरीज ऑफ प्रोग्रेशन. and that is called career. जैसे हम बात करते हैं बेसिक पे स्केल्स की, स्पेशल पे स्केल्स की पाकिस्तान में, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड ट्रेडिशनल कैरियर. और इस वक्त दुनिया में एडवांस कंट्रीज में बात हो रही है प्रोटीन कैरियर्स की. नाउ प्रोटीन कैरियर मीन्स दैट कि जैसे जैसे एम्प्लॉय की क्वालिफिकेशंस, उसकी स्किल्स, उसकी कॉम्पिटेंस इंक्रीज होती है, जैसे जैसे मार्केट की सिचुएशन स्ट्रांग होती है, कस्टमर की अवेयरनेस लेवल बढ़ता है, कस्टमर की एक्सपेक्टेशंस बढ़ती हैं, और उन इंक्रीज्ड एक्सपेक्टेशंस को मीट करने के लिए एम्प्लॉय को बेहतर परफॉर्म करना पड़ता है. वैसे वैसे उसकी प्रमोशंस होती हैं और वो अपने कैरियर में ग्रो करता है. दैट इज कॉल्ड प्रोटीन कैरियर. सो ओवरऑल जब हम बात करते हैं डेवलपमेंट प्लानिंग की, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की, सो दीज आर really very important that you have to strengthen and develop your human resources. Then in our course in development planning and administration, we have also talked about crisis. Crisis can affect all segments of society, businesses, hospitals, educational institutions, families, and are caused by a wide range of reasons. The crisis definitions can vary greatly. Three elements are common to most definitions of crisis in the world: threat, surprise, and short decision time. Now let's discuss these three common factors. Whenever your organization is facing a crisis, it is a threatening situation. Surprise. Most of the crises are unpredictable. So there is a surprise element in it in most cases. Short decision time. Because whenever you have a crisis situation in your organization, you have a very short decision time. Otherwise, the rumors will start coming in. And if you are late in your response, if you are late in your response to tell the media, to tell the government, to tell the survivors, to tell the stakeholders, you may get, for example, not get a second chance. So in order to overcome the rumors, you need to respond quickly. Otherwise, rumors will, control the situation, and then you will not be able to manage the situation. Year after year, thousands of organizations close their doors due to the effect of crises that are not managed well. Organizations with the "it won't happen to me" mentality face severe crisis. खास तौर पे यहाँ पे मैं बात करना चाहता हूँ कि जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ये समझती हैं कि ये तो मेरे साथ हो ही नहीं सकता, और जब उनके साथ वो क्राइसिस हो जाता है तो वो बहुत ही सीवियर होता है, क्योंकि दे आर टोटली अनप्रिपेयर्ड फॉर उस क्राइसिस के लिए. Putting energy, focus and expense into preparing for a crisis is often unattractive. ये वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो अपनी एनर्जी को, फोकस को, अपने पैसे को क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट के लिए स्पेंड करने के लिए तैयार ही नहीं होती. Crisis interrupts the operations where management is unprepared to deal with it. Very important. तो जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट नहीं करती, they are in big trouble than those organizations who are ready to manage it. Now let us quickly have a reflection of types of crisis. Natural events like uncontrollable natural events, health disasters, earthquakes, floods, fire, disastrous accidents, environmental pollutions are the example of natural events of crisis. Then we see technology breakdowns. This is another type of crisis. It includes data loss, security breaches, out-of-date equipment. And talking about economic and market forces, market swings, investment bubbles. Like for example, stock market quickly goes up and then it quickly goes down. It is like an investment bubble. Personal crisis. For example, failing exams, divorce, being unemployed. Talking about confrontation crisis, for example, disputes. Misconduct crisis, for example, harassment, corruption, fraud, false invoicing. Talking about business-related crisis, sudden death of a crucial leader, serious breach of law, vendor fails to deliver critical supplies. And talking about acts of malevolence, for example, terrorism, kidnapping. So these are the major types of crisis in the world. Now what we need to do during crisis? Filtering and ranking of issues. Now this is the major responsibility of administrators, that they need to focus on this area. Now during crisis, issues that have been identified. On your left side of the picture, if you see that, issues that have been identified. So whenever crisis occurs, there are dozens and dozens of issues. Now the administrator, they need to put a filter criteria here. Strategy, relevance, actionability, criticality, urgency. So one can revise or change the filter criteria depending on the situation and depending on the nature of the organization. And once you put there the filter criteria, so if you see on the right hand side of the picture, you rank ordered strategic issues. You prioritize in the orders of importance. Like number 1 is B, number 2 is W, number 3 is Q, number 4 is R, and so forth and so on. So now you see that with the help of this filter criteria, now you develop a strategy to manage this crisis. So if you do not put that filter criteria, it is not possible for any organization in the world to address all the issues that arise during crisis. Now talking about the stages of crisis management, like most human events, crisis can be described in terms of stages or relatively identifiable sequences of events and reactions. So let's see the Mitroff's crisis management model. So Mitroff has given a wonderful crisis management model. So organizations with the help of this model can avoid crisis, they can prepare to manage crisis, they can recognize crisis before it approaches the organization. Organizations can contain the crisis, they can resolve the crisis, and finally organizations can learn from the crisis. So how to get the benefit of learning from crisis? So this is one of the most popular models organizations use during crisis. Now in our course in development planning and administration, we also talked about the biological rhythms. You may have heard of the term biological rhythms. Now this term refers to the times of day when your energy levels are at their highest and when you can accomplish your most important work. Okay, this is really very interesting. Okay, आप अपना बायोलॉजिकल रिदम सोचें कि लाइक 24 आवर में ऐसे कौन से घंटे हैं जिसमें आप बहुत ज़्यादा एनर्जेटिक होते हैं, आप बहुत ज़्यादा एक्टिव होते हैं, आपका माइंड बहुत फ्रेश होता है, फिजिकली आप बहुत एक्टिव होते हैं. तो वंस यू आइडेंटिफाई कि आप 24 घंटे में कौन से घंटों में आपका बायोलॉजिकल रिदम ऑन द एक्सट्रीम होता है, तो उन्हीं घंटों में या उसी टाइम के दौरान जिसमें आपका बायोलॉजिकल रिदम ऑन द हाईएस्ट साइड है, यू कैन डू योर मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एंड मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट टास्क जो हैं, अगर आप उस वक्त करेंगे तो इट विल बिकम वेरी इजी फॉर यू. नाउ कीप योर बैलेंस, फिजिकल, इंटेलेक्चुअल, सोशल, कैरियर, इमोशनल, स्पिरिचुअल. और जब हम इसकी बात करते हैं तो डेफिनेटली ह्यूमंस, एम्प्लॉइज, any organization, they should ensure that their employees should have a balance. And if they do not have a balance, they will face more problems. So talking about risk management, it has a vital role in development planning and administration. So this is really very important. So organizations which follow the principles of risk management, they are better able to manage the risks than those organizations who are unprepared. Now talking about the corporate social responsibility and ethics in development planning and administration. Now this is really very important because nowadays any organization in the world which is not following, which is not implementing its social responsibility, which is not acting in the area of social responsibility, they are in big trouble. So talking about the arguments for corporate social responsibility, not just profits. So these are the arguments in favor of corporate social responsibility, that organizations, they do not only exist only for profits. So they need to think, they need to go beyond just making profits. Power versus responsibility. Of course, responsibility is of more importance. Stakeholder relations. So organizations in the world who have developed strongest bonds with the stakeholders, they have developed like rapidly in the organization. And organizations having poor relations with their stakeholders, they are unable to achieve the highest standards. Now there are certain arguments against the corporate social responsibility from the shareholder point of view. Shareholders believe that, now first let me tell you who are the shareholders. Now shareholders are those who are the investors who have invested their money in your organization. So when you go for performing your social responsibility, of course तो जो शेयर होल्डर का प्रॉफिट है उसमें उनको कट लग रहा है, एंड दे आर मेकिंग लेस मनी, दे आर मेकिंग लेस प्रॉफिट. हिंड्रेंस इन मैक्सिमाइजिंग प्रॉफिट्स. तो शेयर होल्डर्स, कुछ ऐसे शेयर होल्डर्स हैं जिनको लगता ये है कि हमारे प्रॉफिट्स कम हो जाएंगे. सो हियर इसका जो एनालिसिस हम करेंगे कि आर्गुमेंट्स फॉर एंड आर्गुमेंट्स अगेंस्ट कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, तो उसका कंक्लूजन ये निकलता है कि जो शेयर होल्डर्स हैविंग अ ब्रॉडर विजन, so shareholders having a broader vision, they are in favor of corporate social responsibility, because once you develop strong relationships with your stakeholders. That gives you, most sustainable competitive advantage, and that ensures your profitability in the long run. So organizations who are focusing only on the short-term profits, so they may focus on like other activities other than CSR, but organizations who really want to develop a sustainable competitive edge in the world, they focus more on corporate social responsibility. Now, in development planning and administration, those who can see the deepest into the past can also see farthest into the future. Now, talking about the career planning and motivation of employees, concepts and challenges. Now, it is the major responsibility of the planners and administrators to ensure that they provide career planning, career counseling to their employees, and they should take measures that motivate their employees. Now, in order to do that career planning, organizations, they need to establish their counseling offices or career building offices and any department like that. So coaching, mentoring, guidance, things like that. And then for motivation, we have in our lecture in this area, we talked about Abraham Maslow's needs hierarchy. We also call it motivation theory, Maslow's motivation theory. Now it has various steps, like for example, it starts from physiological needs. Then from its physiological needs, it moved towards safety needs, then social needs, then self-esteem needs, and then finally self-actualization needs. So it is the responsibility of the employer to see that कि उसका एम्प्लॉई जो है वो कौन से लेवल के ऊपर है, और एम्प्लॉई को नेक्स्ट लेवल के लिए आप उसको मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं जो नेक्स्ट लेवल पे उसकी नीड है. Then we have also talked about individual career planning. We talked about organizational career planning, and both of the individual and organizational career planning lead the organization towards enhanced individual and organizational performance. Now, which is more important? Individual goals or organizational goals? Okay, what comes in your mind when we say that individual goals are more important or organizational goals are more important? According to research, in the long run, individual and organizational goals, they should have a balance. They should be in alignment with each other. So both are equally important. And of course, the result is enhanced individual and organizational performance. Now, these are the 21st century success factors. Get noticed, be remembered, make a name for yourself. So, these are the wonderful success factors in the 21st century. Now, in career planning, the primary goal of a leader is to motivate employees. And to accomplish this goal, it is imperative that the leader fully understands how people are motivated. Otherwise, the organization will never be as good as it could be. Now, how to motivate? How to create that motivating environment? So, the top management, they can take certain measures, like most important thing is there must be a top management support. Then there should be transparency, accountability, decisions on merit basis, strong reward system, in-time promotions, pay for performance. So if the top management, they do these things in their organization, they design that motivating environment in which people get motivated automatically. Now talking about the human resource success factors. Attracting and hiring the best employees. Now this is really very important. Now the question is how to attract and hire the best employees. So in order to attract the best talent from the market, first of all, it is important that your organization should have a strong market repute. Otherwise, why the most talented people will apply in your organization? Then hiring the best employees. In order to do that, you need to focus on improving the recruitment and selection procedures of your organization. Equipping employees with the skills needed to excel. Of course, when we talk about equipping employees, we talk about resources. So you need to, provide your employees with resources of, like, for example, human resource, financial resource, physical resource, and information resource. So these are the 4 types of resources you need to provide your employees if you want them to excel. Compensating employees fairly. Now, compensation not only means the salary or the financial benefits, it also includes training and development, appreciation, recognition, sense of achievement, high ethics, motivating environment. Motivating employees to reach their full potential. And these are the human resource challenges in the organizations these days. Employees are struggling to balance their home and work lives. Now this is a big challenge, not only in Pakistan, it's a challenge all over the world. Now employees who are focusing more on their official work, they ignore their families. And vice versa, employees who focus more on their families, they sacrifice their office work. So on one side we have the goal, on the other side we have the relationships. So what is recommended here? The best thing is a balance between the relationships and goals. Managers are challenged to manage and communicate with employees around the globe. These days we have a highly diversified workforce. So people around the world, people from different cultures, different religions, different countries, having different norms and values, male and female, working in the same organization. So managing and communicating with a highly diversified workforce is one of the biggest challenges our managers are facing these days. A diverse and multicultural workforce requires better workplace communication and training, because it is through the highly diversified workforce that ensures more creativity and innovation. So the more heterogeneous workforce you have, the more chances of creativity and innovation, and the more homogeneous workforce you have, there are lesser chances of creativity and innovation. Technology is impacting decision-making, communication, and business operations. So there is rapid advancement in technology. We buy one computer, one PC. After a few days, new models comes in. We buy one software. after a few days we have a new software in the market. We are using one program. After a few days there is a new programming available in the market. So technology is rapidly changing. So as the communication and business operations. Human resource laws are dictating many aspects of the employee-employee relationships. So it is also one of the biggest challenges, because employee rights, human rights, equal opportunity employer. So organizations, they have to follow these international laws, rules and regulations. Now we have also talked about human resource planning, the process of anticipating an organization's future HR needs and then developing action plans for fulfilling identified needs. So आप क्या कर रहे हैं कि you are anticipating कि future में आपको कितने human resources की ज़रूरत है, और फिर आप action plans बना रहे हैं कि जितने resources की आपको ज़रूरत है उनको आप कैसे arrange करेंगे. Now this diagram completely shows the human resource planning process in an organization. It starts from the long-term planning. We call that strategic planning. Now under the umbrella of strategic planning we have the human resource planning. So human resource planning में आप क्या कर रहे हैं? You are comparing requirements and availability. Now on your left you see that forecasting human resource requirements. On the right side, forecasting human resource availability. कि आपके पास कितने human resource available हैं और आपके पास आपको कितने human resource की requirements हैं. तो आप इन दोनों को requirements और availability को आप compare कर रहे हैं. Now these are the possible results of this comparison. On your left, you see demand is equal to supply. For example, 100 human resources are working and 100 is the requirement. So demand is equal to supply. No action is needed here. In another case, 100 are available and 80 is the requirement. So there is a surplus of 20 workers. So organization, it is recommended that they need to restrict hiring, reduced hours, early retirements, layoffs. And the third option is, possibility is, like 100 employees are available and the requirement is 120. So you need to go for recruitment and selection because there is shortage of workers. So now you see that human resource planning helped you do that, helped you forecast and predict that in the times to come, what are your HR requirements. So the best human resource planners, they forecast, they predict, they estimate, and then they take proactive measures. Now, human resource critical finding. 1 out of every 3 people plan on leaving in the next 2 years, according to Hay Group USA. Now this is a really very serious. हर 3 लोगों में से एक पर्सन प्लान कर रहा है कि वो नेक्स्ट 2 years में ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को छोड़ के चला जाए. Now that shows the significance and importance of HR retention. Now let's discuss human resource retention. The extent to which an employee is committed to his work and his organization, this is called HR retention. And the extent to which this commitment impacts his performance and intent to stay with the organization. Now जब हम बात करते हैं HR retention की, it is the total of the behavior employees espouse in the organization, which primarily should be characterized by belief in the organization. Now, जिन employees की जिन एम्प्लॉयज की अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग बिलीफ होती है, दे स्टे विद द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, और जिन एम्प्लॉयज की अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे बिलीफ वीक होती है, दे प्लान टू लीव द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. ड्राइव टू वर्क एंड मेक थिंग्स बेटर. एम्प्लॉयज जिनमें एक मोटिवेशन है काम करने की, बेहतर काम करने की, चीजों को बेहतर करने की, वर्किंग मेथड्स को इंप्रूव करने की, तो जितनी ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग ड्राइव होगी एम्प्लॉयज में काम की और काम को बेहतर करने की, उतने ही ज्यादा चांसेस हैं कि वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में स्टे करना चाह रहे हैं. एंड ऑन द अदर साइड, ये ड्राइव जितनी वीक होगी, जितना उनका काम में दिल नहीं लगेगा या काम को बेहतर करने के लिए वो नहीं सोचेंगे, इट मीन्स दैट they are losing their motivation and they are losing their interest in the organization, and they may leave, or they are planning to leave. Respect and support for others. जो employees दूसरों को respect दे रहे हैं, support कर रहे हैं, और in return उनको भी एक respect और support मिल रही है, तो there are bright chances they stay with the organization. They remain with the organization. Then those employees, in comparison, इनको वो respect और support ना वो दे रहे हैं और ना उनको मिल रही है. And then desire to learn new skills. ये वो employees हैं जो नई skill सीखना चाह रहे हैं organization में. तो जितना ज्यादा उनका desire होगा new skill सीखने में, उतने ही ज्यादा brighter chances हैं कि those employees they stay with the organization. और जितनी desire weak होगी, it means that they are planning to move out. So जब हम overall HR retention की बात करते हैं, तो we need to focus on these 4 areas of belief, drive, respect and desire of employees. Now talking about the high turnover to high retention. Here today, here tomorrow. Transforming your workforce from high turnover to high retention. Now this is really very important. And like for example, जो आपके best employees हैं, having the best competencies, who are the most experienced employees, you know, when they leave, you lose your most important asset. So human brain is also called the intellectual capital. So Microsoft के जो ओनर हैं बिल गेट्स, उन्होंने कहा कि अगर आप मेरी बेस्ट ब्रेन्स माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के ऑफिस से ले जाएं, तो मेरी पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो है उसकी परफॉर्मेंस डिक्लाइन में चली जाएगी. So what does it mean? Organization's most important asset is the human resource. और जब human resource जो आपका best asset है, वो आपको छोड़ के चला जाए, तो definitely उस organization के लिए unbelievable problems create हो जाएंगी. To do this, we need first to look at the main reasons for why do people stay. So this is really very important कि लोग क्यों एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ स्टे करना चाहते हैं. Of course, उसके मुख्तलिफ reasons हैं. One of the most important reason is people, they want to be rewarded. You know, लोग जितनी अपनी टाइम सेक्रीफाइस कर रहे हैं, जितनी अपनी एफर्ट्स पुट इन कर रहे हैं, तो दे नीड इक्वल रिवॉर्ड एज वेल. सो इनपुट आउटपुट रेशो अगर इक्वल नहीं होगी, तो इट इज डिफिकल्ट कि जी ऐसे लोग आपके साथ स्टे करें. Then of course motivating environment is required. that cooperation and coordination is required. And then, of course, transparency in decision making is required. And the most important thing is you need to involve employees in decision making. You need to empower your employees. You need to delegate your task, your power and your authority to your employees. और जब तक employees को आप involve नहीं करेंगे अपने साथ decision making में, you cannot make them loyal. So give your employees the honor they deserve. Now talking about the monitoring versus evaluation. So monitoring is continuous day to day, whereas evaluation is periodic important milestones. In monitoring, we document progress, whereas in evaluation, in-depth analysis of achievements. In monitoring, it focuses on inputs and outputs, whereas evaluation focuses on outcomes and impacts. In monitoring, it alerts managers to problems, whereas in evaluation, it provides managers with strategy and policy options. And finally, in monitoring, it is self-assessment, whereas evaluation is external analysis. So when we talk about development planning and administration, monitoring and evaluation has a key role to play. So organizations without a strong mechanism of monitoring and evaluation, they are unable to draw the true picture of their organization. They are unable to find out the root causes of the problems. Now 21st century project manager elements of competency की जब हम बात करते हैं, so these are the elements. The first is the talent, basis for performance, knowledge, information necessary to perform, skills, tools to utilize talent and knowledge. And talking about experience, it is the understanding how to perform efficiently and effectively. And motivation, ambition to perform successfully. So these are the 21st century project manager elements of competency. We have also talked about delegation. So the question is why we need to delegate. Due to globalization, world is a global village now. So there is a survival of the fittest. So unless and until you delegate, you cannot unlock the real potential of your employees. So you delegate your tasks, you delegate your authority, you delegate your power, and you see that employees, they are willing to do the best. Information technology explosions are there, increased mergers, heightened competition, and higher expectations of nearly every customer. So in order to meet all of these challenges, it is really very important that you need to delegate your task, your power, your authority to your subordinates, to your followers. So it just isn't possible to still be that one person in control of everything. Bringing in others to manage is an absolute necessity for survival now. So it is not an option कि आप delegate करें या ना करें. Now it is mandatory. It is the requirement that you have to delegate. Otherwise, you cannot compete in the market. So you must perform only essential activities that give the company its competitive advantage. So as an administrator, so you manage only the most essential activities and give the other activities to your followers, to your subordinates. Learn to do less and manage more. Very simple, most comprehensive. The delegation task is in finding the right persons and giving them the right work. ये ना हो कि आप poor delegation करें, तो you have to find the right person having the right abilities and competencies who can manage the work. सो वर्क को पर्सन की कॉम्पिटेंसी के साथ आपने मैच करना है कि जो पर्सन जिस काम में मोस्ट कॉम्पिटेंट है उसी पर्सन को आपने डेलीगेट करना है. अदरवाइज देयर आर so many disadvantages of poor delegation. Now talking about the people dynamics of change. People feel awkward during the process of change because resistance to change is a natural phenomenon. So during change, people feel awkward. Provide them information. So once you provide them information, you know they feel comfortable, they feel easy. People first think about what they have to give up. Emphasize what will be gained. Employees को ये लगता है कि कोई नया वर्किंग मेथड आया है, कोई नई चेंज आई है, तो उनको बहुत कुछ गिव अप करना पड़ेगा. तो इट इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कि उनको कम्युनिकेट करे कि व्हाट विल बी द गेन्स आउट ऑफ दिस पॉजिटिव चेंज. पीपल फील अलोन. ब्रिंग पीपल टुगेदर. गेट टुगेदर्स करें, उनको मीटिंग्स करें, उनके साथ कम्युनिकेट करें. People can only handle so much change at one time. Try to have gradual changes. एक step by step अगर आप change लेके आए, this is highly recommended in most of the organizations. People are at different levels of readiness. Acknowledge differences. So no two humans are equal. No two employees are equal in their competencies, in their readiness to accept change. So you should acknowledge the differences. People often are concerned about resources at the beginning of change. Provide information about resources. So remove their confusion, overcome their uncertainty, remove their doubts. So during the process of change, you need to keep in mind all of these dynamics of change. Otherwise, you will not be able to minimize the resistance to change. Now, these are the most important areas of employees. As planner, as administrator, you need to focus on these areas and try to bring a balance, like physical, exercise, nutrition, stress management. Talking about social and emotional aspects of employees, making social and meaningful connection with others. Talking about the spiritual factors, value clarification and commitment, and talking about the mental area, learning, reading, writing, and teaching. So try to ensure that the employees are having a balance of all these areas. Now talking about the human maintenance. It is the physical you. So for physical you, provide food, water, and exercise. Mental you के लिए learning and education is really helpful. And for social emotional you के लिए relationships are really very important. And spiritual you के लिए beliefs and values play a very important role. So for human maintenance, for employee maintenance, as a planner, as an administrator, you need to focus on all of these areas. And once you focus on human maintenance in your organization, you can not only beat your competitors, you can become the market leader. Now talking about the relationship between pay equity and motivation. So in the middle you see that employees, they have a feeling of being paid fairly. When their input-output ratio in comparison is equal to their input-output ratio. कि जब वो अपना input-output ratio देखते हैं, तो जब उसको comparison करते हैं market में, तो it equals their input-output ratio, so they feel being paid fairly. So it is called equity. On the left side, if you see, when the employees are they have a feeling of being underpaid, it is inequity situation. So when the employees, they look at their input-output ratio, and then they compare and they see that in comparison they are getting less. So it is a situation which is called inequity. On the right side, if you see, the employees are they have a feelings of being overpaid. For example, when they look at their input-output ratio, so when they compare it with other organizations, with other persons, they see that they are getting more than that. So they have a feeling of being overpaid. So that is also a condition of inequity. So according to Harold Kuntz, we need to focus on the equity. We need to give them a feeling of being paid fairly. Now, factors affecting compensation policy according to Patton. So these are the internal and external factors. Compensation strategy of organization, worth of job, employees' relative worth, and employer's ability to pay. These are the most important factors when you talk about, making your compensation policy. Now, you also need to look at the external factors when you are planning to develop your compensation policy in your organization. External factors are conditions of the labor market. Like for example, कि इस वक्त supply और demand situation क्या है? Like for example, कि जिस तरह के employees की आपको ज़रूरत है, market में उनकी availability किस तरह की है? Like for example, क्या जो आपको requirements हैं HR की, उस तरह की requirements के मुताबिक क्या आपको employees जो हैं market से आसानी से मिल रहे हैं या there is shortage? अगर employees आपको आसानी से मिल रहे हैं तो definitely you have a different compensation policy. If there is a shortage, then you have a different policy. Area wage rates, cost of living, जिस area में आप function करें, and then collective bargaining and legal requirements. So this is called wage mix. So these are the factors affecting compensation policy. So planners, they are while developing the compensation policy of their organization, they need to keep in mind all of these internal and external factors while finalizing their compensation policy. And if the compensation policy is not prepared, keeping in view these factors, it will not give you the desired outcomes and outputs. So communication is really all anyone ever gets paid for ultimately. And if you cannot effectively communicate, you will not get paid. So that shows the real importance of communication. So these are the skills of good planners and administrators, whether it is a public sector or a private sector. They speak and write clearly. So when they speak and when they write, it is like clear in the mind of the person, in the mind of those people who are listening or who are reading that document. They are active listeners. They listen actively. They give feedback. They give immediate responses, but with good responsibility. Make eye contact. They use their body language. They avoid interrupting others. Because if you interrupt others, you cannot listen well. Respect the views of others. Unless and until the planners and administrators, जब तक वो दूसरों के views को respect नहीं करेंगे, they cannot develop good plans and they cannot develop good administration strategies. Ask questions, clarifying questions, clarify the situation. Use appropriate body language. So these are the skills required at, like whenever we talk about good planners and good administrators. So talking about the impact of personality and diversity on effective planning and administration, both have a very strong impact on it. Because persons having good personality means that having positive attitude and behavior. And diversity means that like different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, male and female working together in an organization. So both of these areas have a strong impact on effective planning and administration. Finally, development planning and administration comes alive when employees are involved in setting goals and determining the means to reach them. This is the final message. This is the final area we are now discussing in this course of development planning and administration. So the most important thing is, if we want to ensure that we achieve our goals, if we want to ensure that we achieve our vision, we achieve our mission. So this is only possible if you involve your employees, if you involve your people in decision making. I believe that with the help of this course, organizations not only in Pakistan, even the organizations abroad can get the guidance and can improve their planning and administration functions. I'm very happy on the completion of this course, and I strongly believe that all of you have learned a lot in this course. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I'm your facilitator, Professor Dr. Muhammad Majid Mahmood Bagram. Khuda Hafiz and God bless you.